This is the Peter Greenwood Show. I am in the salubrious confines of the library bar over at Teviot. Not exactly our new home, but, homey enough. It's nice here. And I have a gentleman to my left. People are always on my left. I'm like that scene in Captain America, the Captain America movie where the guy's like, on your left. That's me. That's my life. Could you tell me your name and your show title, please?
My name is Steffan Alun. I'm doing a show called Windows, which is a stand-up comedy show.
How are you today, Steffan? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm really, really well. I had my day off 2 days ago, so I am as refreshed as I can be this month.
Which is 0% refreshed, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, at least I managed to lie down for a bit.
Well, that's good. I mean, they say day off, but it's not really a day off. That's when emails happen, laundry happens, maybe eating a vegetable happens.
Yeah, I managed 2 of those 3.
Do I get a prize if I guess which one?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess you did laundry.
Yeah.
And maybe had a vegetable?
Yeah.
Yes!
I do try and genuinely take a day off because you're sort of supposed to, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we are not built to work absolutely all the time, but
Yeah.
I think stand-up in particular can be very workaholic friendly because there's always something you can be doing.
Yeah.
I remember back in, was this in June? I had a gig up in Newcastle that was cancelled, and because I live in Swansea, I would have spent most of the day getting there. I'd have stayed over, spent most of the next day getting back. So that one gig being cancelled meant I had 2 days off. And I was like, whoa. And I was saying to my wife, I've had 2 days off and I feel amazing. And she said, yeah, do you know what most people call that? A weekend.
Even your wife is sassing you.
Oh, that's her job.
So let's talk Windows. What is Windows?
So Windows is an hour of stand-up comedy, and I wrote every word of it in the last 11 months. Just a proper, I don't know. I think I know a lot of comics write a new show, sort of specially for the festival. But even then, there might be the odd line or two, especially sort of introductions and endings. So I was like, no, I'm banned from doing that. I want every single word to be absolutely brand new. And I think it's the best thing I've ever written. It's definitely the funniest thing I've ever written.
So what's it about? Tell us.
So it is about, so it's about a couple of things. Really, I suppose it's about... So the context here is that I'm bisexual, and last year's show was a lot about that. And I've got a wife, and I've been with her a very long time, but my sexuality is still a real and meaningful thing. So that's it. And that sounds very dry, but obviously what it's mostly is sort of jokes about the pop music I like, slightly blue jokes about adult websites or what have you. So lots of fun, big sort of high energy, because I am a circuit comic. It is my job to make drunk people laugh on a weekend. So I think that is always at the heart of what I do. But then a guy came up to me at the end of one of the shows, and he said, so I thought I might be bisexual. That's why I came to the show. And now that I've seen the show, I've realized I'm not. And I'm not okay with that.
Right.
Now, obviously, I am okay with that, right? It's a comic conceit. But I sort of wanted to zoom in on that idea that we sort of decide who we are in opposition to others. That you might go, and we get this a lot. In Wales, there might be certain Welsh people who go, oh yes, I am Welsh, but I'm not like those Welsh people. And I'm sure that happens. I'm sure there is, the no true Scotsman fallacy. We're in the home of that idea. Right?
Yes, Edinburgh is very much that part of Scotland.
One of the bits I have in my show is about the flags we use in Instagram bios. Whether that's some people might have their pride flag, some people might have their national flags. And a guy said to me afterwards, well, I'm Scottish. I would have the Scottish flag in my bio, but these days people assume that means you're pro-independence, which I'm not, and that a flag can represent something. The English flag can mean you're a big fan of football, or it can mean you're a big fan of racism, and there's not. It's hard to sort of tell.
One or the other. I know which one, at least in my social media circles, which one it tends towards, and I'm like, do you have to?
Yeah, because you're a big reform guy, of course, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. People are out painting roundabouts. It's wild. So, what was it like writing a whole new hour? Because you're right, people do come up with other shows, and I think one of the things about The Fringe is, because it is 25 days, 25 different shows, assumably 25 different audiences, But you wanted to write something new. How did that happen?
So I started absolutely with a blank page. So I got home from last year's Edinburgh Fringe. Last year was brilliant for me. That was my official Edinburgh debut, actually.
Oh, so how did it go?
Incredibly. String of brilliant reviews. I won an award. I got jokes in the Telegraph and the Times. Just the dream run. And it found its audience. You know, sometimes you have a sort of a critically acclaimed run that actually doesn't find its audience, but this one really did. You know, people came and they had a really nice time. So you have the phrase difficult second album in your head, of course.
Yes.
My goal was always I want to make something even better than the first one, and I'll die trying. So September I get back and I'm immediately writing, which is sort of heartbreaking. You want to celebrate the brilliant run you've just had, but sorry, it's back to work. So there I am typing little ideas, and if you could see those ideas, so many of them are not funny. But you have to start somewhere.
Let me ask you this. I mean this with respect. What makes them not funny? Are they not funny to you, not funny to other people? How do you judge that?
They're always funny to me. I wouldn't write anything that didn't make me laugh. But then you've got to try them in front of an audience and see if the audience agrees. And a lot of the time it's, have they noticed the thing I've noticed? Or do they relate to the emotion in my story? Like a lot of stand-up comics, a lot of my comedy is stories, weird things that have happened, a weird interaction on the train or whatever. Or observations, this thing I've noticed that I think is weird. But if no one else has noticed what I've noticed, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And if the story is too bizarre, people go, no, I don't. They think it's made up, actually, it's the truth. They can't buy into the logic of it. So you just have to test. And so there I was do you know what? My first gig, so October, I tested all of the material I'd written in September in a board game cafe in Swansea. Because this is the thing, that there are, people might not know, there are all these tiny little gigs happening all over the place, mostly for new comedians, people who've just started. And often they're run by new comedians. Someone who's only been going for 2 years might put on a gig for people who've only just started. And I was finding out where these gigs were, because I said, I just need to be doing so many gigs. And as a circuit comic, I spend most of my life on the train traveling around. I need to do the gigs close to home because it's so expensive to try stuff out. So there I am, and I loved meeting the new comedians because, they're so exciting and vibrant with new ideas. I was going to say young, but a lot of them some of them are even older than I am. I've been doing stand-up for 15 years, but sort of never too late to start. And there I am going, all right, and I'm going up with something that I have no idea if this is going to work. Let's give it a go. So I'll give you an example. I wrote an observation about how HMV is no longer a place that predominantly sells DVDs. DVDs are a niche product in HMV. Usually, like on the bottom floor, you have to go down an escalator. The main thing they sell is posters and anime plushies. I think that's interesting, and I wrote a bunch of jokes about it. It just didn't work. Not enough people have noticed that about HMV.
Was it the HMV staff night out, maybe? And they're like, we don't find this fucking funny. Fuck you.
The thing is, it's not even that they didn't find it funny, but you get this instinct for when something's, oh yeah, that's pretty funny, and oh wow, that is hilarious. And for Edinburgh, you want an hour of hilarious stuff that connects with absolutely everyone. So you just have to test, and you just have to write, and there's no shortcut. There's just writing and writing and writing and writing. And when something hits, and there's one story I tried in October that is in the show and always goes incredibly well, which is a story of my mother and I disagreeing on how many bedrooms we had in my childhood home, that ended up becoming such a big part of the show that I ended up thinking, well, audiences would talk to me and say, we just want to know how many bedrooms. And it's like, well, that's not really resolvable without, I don't know how would you even... No, I've thought of a way I could find out. But am I doing that? And so it becomes this almost year-long journey to find the answer to a question I only asked first because it was funny in a boardroom cafe.
I hate to be that guy, but what was the answer?
I'm not telling you. Come see the show.
Fantastic. I mean, there's a few paths you could take. You could, contact an architect. Like, hey, did you build this house? Do you have the plans? You can look at photos.
My mother found blueprints, but
really?
All that proves is that there were 3 bedrooms in the house when it was built.
Yes.
I think there's 2. She thinks there's 3. She also found a video from an estate agent from 2024 of another house on the same street, but that only proves there's 3 bedrooms in that house.
Yes.
So it's sort of... Well, I won't tell you what I did.
Yes. you had to win, though. I mean, it's your mother. You've got to win.
Exactly. Well, because I'm also inclined to believe that my mother is right. And every audience member thinks my mother is right. But I just think,
Yeah. Something inside you that's like, this is my hill.
Yeah.
I don't know what the battle is, but take my head if I am wrong.
And what it actually becomes, of course, is it's not really about bedrooms. It's about memory. And it's about the way we remember our childhood versus how other people remember us. Or it's about how we perceive ourselves versus how other people perceive us. And once you've got that, it unlocks this whole rich vein of stuff. And you go, oh, well, what else is like that? I guess clothes are like that. We choose what clothes we wear, but we can't really see them once we're wearing them. It's other people who see our clothes and they judge us by it. Is that funny? So you write something about that. Oh, yeah, that connects. Okay, let's write more about that. Let's write a big bit about that. Remember when The Matrix came out and everyone was wearing trench coats? Okay, we've got a thing. So it's a bit like that. You explore one avenue and it takes you down the road, and you sort of start connecting it up. And I do think, different people see this a different way. There are many comedians who think that their job is to be an entertainer, and as long as the hour is funny, that's all that matters. But I've always thought this is an arts festival. If we're doing stand-up, it should be as an art form. There should be depth and richness to it. There should be something that stays with you once you've left that room. Yeah, but it still has to be funny. Well, in mine does. I mean, I know there are some stand-up shows which are ostensibly stand-up, but with these very serious bits, and that's not exactly how I do it. But I think there should be something, laughs in the room, and then something that changes your life forever on the way out. That's my goal. Whether I reach that.
That's such an interesting way of putting it, because I think you're right. Most people do just think, oh, it's a Fringe, I'll come up, do an hour of jokes. And I'm not saying people don't put thought into it, but it's interesting you put that much thought into it. Was that always who you've been as a comedian, as a person?
Yes, a bit, and I think as I've become more experienced, I've dug down into it, and part of it is seeing other comics who do the same thing. I'm not the only person who does this. Alice Fraser's shows always do this. They are very, very deep explorations of ideas, but they are also absolutely hilarious start to finish. Jake Baker has these wonderful sort of really insightful explorations of philosophy and politics, but it's stand-up. It's jokes start to finish. There's never a dull moment. Keris Bradley does really sort of experimental, interesting stuff that is so perfect. I love Keris Bradley's stuff. And again, it's funny. It has to be funny. So I think part of it is you start realizing, oh, there is a type of comedian, and maybe that's who I am. And you find that's the thing about the Fringe. You might think, oh, I'm the only one in my comedy scene who feels this way. But you come to the Fringe, you find your people. Yeah,
which is an important part of life, isn't finding your people, finding your tribe. How does that work in comedy? Is there ever, oh, I didn't like that joke, or I don't like your vibe? What happens then?
Yeah, well, it works in two ways. Obviously, there's such a thing as taste. There are some forms of comedy that are more to my taste than others, but that's okay, because I also believe that there should be all different types of comedy for everyone, because there's different audiences who like different things. So I would never, unless there's an ethical concern, I never have an issue with anyone's style or material. I think that, on the other hand, sometimes someone who is very different from you, but you might get on personally anyway, and sometimes that's brilliant, because you sort of go, well, we're not really in competition with each other because we're such different performers. Your audience isn't the same as mine. Or the other way around, actually, we are similar enough that if someone likes me, they'll probably like you, so I will recommend your show at the end of mine. So there are these little things, and some of it is just, being in a bar in Edinburgh, you see that someone's got a stack of flyers, and you go, oh, you've got a show, what's your show? And you get talking, and maybe that'll be your best friend forever in 10 years' time, or maybe there'll be a bitter enemy that you wish nothing but harm on.
It's a roll of the dice at the Fringe. You never know what you're going to find. What is next for Windows after this? You say you wrote it for the Fringe, new material for the Fringe. What happens to it after this?
So I will tour it. I've already booked it in for the Aberystwyth Comedy Festival in October. They were wonderful. They just believe in me. They booked it in before the run had even started. They didn't ask to see a word of it. They just trusted that that'll be good because it's my work. That's so valuable. And so the plan is to keep doing that, find other places that'll book it in, contact theatres, contact comedy festivals, I will record it. I will put it out. I believe now in you want, if you've worked that hard on a completed work, you want that to be available. I'm also going to be releasing last year's award-winning show. So part of it is also spreading the word that, hey, join my mailing list. SteffanAlun.com, get on there so that when I release it, there's an audience waiting for it. And then I'm going to come back next year with a brand new show again. That's the plan.
So I'll see you next year and we'll talk about something. See you next year and we'll talk about something else.
Yeah, I've
got
a first draft.
Oh.
I'm really ahead of the curve on next year.
You are the most productive person. And is it likely that that'll all, every single word of that will be thrown out before the Fringe, or are you the kind of comedian
Hard
who
to tell.
sticks
I think
to
the
it?
structure will survive. I think some of the jokes will survive. Some of the jokes will definitely change. I've got a year, and I will work all year on it. Yeah.
Where can people find out more about you online?
So find me. So SteffanAlun.com has all of my links. So that is my mailing list, my social media, and and at the minute you can buy my Fringe tickets there as well. But if you look up Windows in the Ed Fringe Guide, you'll find my show. And do come. It's been selling out some days as well, which is really unexpected. That wasn't happening to me last year. So there is a feeling of, okay, people are finding out about me, and that's exciting.
Do you ever have Apple fans coming and throwing iPhones at you like, get out of here?
I did. Well, this is the thing. Naming a show is such a tricky thing because you want a name that is sort of evocative of an idea, but without being too. So what I did was I came up with loads of different titles, and I contacted comedians asking them, what would your assumption be of shows with this title? And the assumptions I enjoyed the most for the one about Windows, where loads of people assumed it would be about Windows 95. So I have written one joke about Windows 95.
That's fantastic. I love it when I throw something out and somebody's like, "Ooh, I've got that." That is amazing. Steffan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Good luck with the show.
Cheers.
Steffan Alun, Windows, is playing at 6:15 p.m. at Hoot 4 at Hoots at the Apex every day until the 31st. For more information, go to edfringe.com and search for Steffan Alun Windows. I'm Peter. I've been to the Fringe. I'll see you next time.